All right, guys. So today I am talking with Edmond, who was a student of my mentorship program, and really excited to interview him because it's been a long time coming to get this interview done. Edmond, thanks for coming on and letting me interview you.
Absolutely.
I'd love to just start off by having you kind of introduce yourself and letting us know just like a little bit about your background and about you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Edmond Berry. I'm 23 years old. I've been doing sales for about the last 5 years. So I come from a sales background. I'm still currently in a sales job. So I'm still doing this as working a 9 to 5. Um, so yeah, I never went to college or anything, went straight into working, bet on myself instead of getting a degree. And yeah, here we are.
Here we are. Here we are indeed. I love it. So prior to joining my program, any recruiting or staffing experience whatsoever?
No, none before.
Okay. So you started the agency from complete scratch, which is awesome because, like you said, you bet on yourself. And when you start to do that, really cool things happen, which is kind of awesome. So, yeah, I love it. Right. Okay, cool. So the program we went through and thoroughly, you were an awesome student, through and through. So let's talk about contracts. Like since joining the program, how many contracts, how many clients, let's say, were you able to land, and what did that look like? What did that whole field look like for you at that point?
Great question. Yeah. So basically, we had a total of 6 contracts since I joined the program. And out of those 6, like really, to be honest with you, there was 3 clients that were not good at all. It was a difficult time with, getting a hold of the hiring manager, HR. They were really slow when it came to things. We would send over like tons of resumes, and it would just take forever to get back. And we would be, coordinating interviews with the candidates, but, hiring managers, they wouldn't get back to us in time. So we would lose candidates, and it was just like a huge mess. Now,
Mm.
the other 3 contracts we get, those actually ended up being our biggest paid clients, our best clients. And with those active 3, just counting those, we had about a pipeline about, I want to say, because we've already closed 25,000 so far. We have another $17,000 deal, hopefully closing with everything going good. They're supposed to start the candidate on the 1st of the month, actually the 31st. It would be Monday. That'll be a $17,000 deal, and then plus another 100,000 that we haven't closed yet. So
Wow.
that's with just 3 clients.
Wow. So the pipeline's looking good.
Yeah, looking good so far. And this, keep in mind, it's been in the past like 3-4 months.
So I like what you added there about like the struggle in the beginning, right? Because I always talk about good clients, bad clients, and that's a huge thing. And especially if you're like brand spanking new to recruiting, you might come across like some really bad clients. And my thing is always like, I'd rather have one awesome client rather than 100 bad clients. And so that's part of the learning curve. You know what I mean? You just identify and start seeing the red flags, the green flags, like, how that works and all that. But it looks like you came out on top because clearly you probably taken a lot of lessons learned from that to get to your 3 really good clients that have your over 6 figures pipeline projected, which is awesome.
100%.
That's super,
Yeah.
super
And
cool.
yeah. And so, I mean, it just goes into entrepreneurship, business in general. If you can't take adversity, you can't get through like the hard times and all of this stuff. It's probably not for you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as harsh as and blunt as that may sound, because I've tried multiple different businesses before in the past. Like I was telling Ben, I used to run a social media marketing agency for real estate agents. I've been doing sales for 5 years. That's where like all of my income has came from. But as far as like business goes, this has to be like my first ever like real profitable business. that has like made the most sense for me. I'm most passionate about, and I feel like I'm actually doing a service to the client. And so, yeah, back to what you were saying, you know, in the beginning, you know, you go through trials, tribulations, whatnot, but you know, that's what makes it ultimately, you know, fun at the end of the day. If you're going to just pop off and make 100 grand in the first few months, you know, what's the point, or what's the fun in that? You know, the fun is in the journey for me personally. Right. So it's getting there, you know, finding out what struggles you have, you know, what problems you're having in the business, and just solving those problems at the end of the day for your clients, and for the candidates, and obviously for you as well. That's why we're doing business, right?
Yeah, the triple win, right? You're
Yeah.
helping your client, you're helping your candidate, you're helping yourself. So the business model in recruiting, that's what's always attracted me in recruiting, is that it's a triple win, you know, and you're always helping people. Like you said too, yeah, that can be great. You can make $100,000 in a month and a half if you land like a big whale client, and you know you just ace it, right? And that's awesome. But for longevity, you know, as far as being an entrepreneur, and I like what you mentioned, like, you know, it's not for someone that just wants a quick win or get rich quick or get rich overnight. It's get rich over time. You know what I mean? And even then, it's, you know, you should be investing, right? So you should be cash poor, but asset rich. But long story short, that's a whole different interview. But it looks like you've got it set up now where you're cash flowing, positive, obviously, and things are looking really good in the pipeline and all that stuff. And I want to talk about something unique, because this is really what a lot of people are always curious about. Like, can I do this while I work a 9 to 5 job? And can I work myself out of that 9 to 5 job? And so tell us about your situation with that.
100%. So, yeah, I mean, with a 9 to 5 job, absolutely. Like, if you want to put in the hours, like everybody thinks that, like, oh, I don't have the time. If you really break down to like 24, everybody has the same 24 hours a day, right? So if you take like maybe, let's just say 8 hours a day for sleep, then you're left with 16 hours. You work for another 8 hours. That's another 8 hours that you have left over. Um, and what are you doing with that time? Maybe 2 hours for commute. I mean, you're left with 6 hours of free time. I mean, I get that people have responsibilities, you know, kids, you know, they have other things to attend to. But at the end of the day, like, if it's worth it for you, you could definitely do this. Like, at least, I mean, in the beginning, you could do this 2 hours a day, get everything set up, send out your emails, your outreach, at least take 2 hours a day, you know, focused and undivided attention to those action steps to basically get the ball rolling.
1000%. A lot of people know my story. I started my agency while I was at my 9 to 5, and then matched my income, and then exceeded my income by more than double. And so at that point, dollars and cents did not make sense whatsoever. And it was, hey guys, I'm out, right? You know, so that's how it works for a lot of people in the program, and that's your exit strategy as well too. But you know, obviously, you know, multiple income streams that, I mean, are great, you know, because you have to have, you know, certain cash flows, and whatnot. But the ultimate goal is obviously to scale, right? And what you're doing is just that. I mean, that's exactly what you're doing, right? And you have now another team member. You have a VA on board.
Yeah. So we have a recruiting VA. He sources all the candidates, because a lot of our positions are high level. So he does a lot of the headhunting, and he's a lot smarter than I am. Like, I was totally new to recruiting before, you know, even hearing about Ben. So yeah, I mean, the team member, one recruiting VA, he helps me with all the placements, screening, communication with the client. Basically, I just do the business development, you know, sending out email outreach, getting on close or sales calls with clients, closing them, and handing off all the positions to the recruiting BA.
Mm.
And so that alleviates a lot of the time when I'm at the 9 to 5 job. Because don't get me wrong, like I understand, like not everybody is as as fortunate. I guess like I'm very blessed, right? I count my blessings all the time. I've been making a 6-figure income for the past 3 years in sales. So I have the money to be able to, invest into a team member, right?
Mm.
But at the end of the day, once you get through that first couple like month or 2 months, like there's people in the program that are still working a 9 to 5 job. They might not be making a lot of money, but they're doing everything they're on their own. They're getting their first few clients, couple of placements, and then they're using that money to reinvest, get team members, and really build up from there. So just because like, I'm in a fortunate spot where like I like my job, I like what I do, plus I'm doing this on the side, it doesn't mean that it's not possible.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And there's many, many, many examples on that we can go into. So I guess, what was your biggest takeaway like from the program itself that launched you to where you're at now? Like, you didn't start in recruiting, you weren't there ever until you joined the program, and then, it was kind of thrown in your lap and you started. What was like the biggest takeaway or like the biggest element that maybe propelled you to success?
Really just understanding what the industry is like, the ins and outs of recruiting, how it actually works, and that it is possible. I didn't ever like even imagine that people would pay you to help them find employees.
Right. A lot of people have that mindset. A lot of people don't know. Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get that like imposter syndrome a little bit in the beginning. But yeah, that was a big takeaway. Learning what recruiting is and really like outreach methods, sticking with one method and riding that thing, until you get like the first placements, and then exploring other avenues as well. Really automating and systematizing a lot of portions in the business so that you're not, spending like your whole day sending 1,000 emails a day, right? Manually, right?
Right.
Scraping lists. Yeah. Outreaching to people on LinkedIn. And with, if anybody knows about LinkedIn, getting in recruiting, like the recent hit we took last year with limiting the connections, visiting profiles, those type of things, those were the biggest key takeaways from the program for sure.
Love it. So just to wrap up and put a bow on it, like what would you ask everyone this, what would you tell anybody that's on the fence just about getting into recruiting? Like not necessarily just my programs, but what would you tell anyone about getting into the recruiting business if they're just sitting there on the fence thinking about it?
I mean, if you're thinking about it, what do you have to lose, really? You have so much more to gain. And especially right now with the market the way it is, it's definitely a good time to at least give it a shot, give it all or give it your all. And, you never know what's going to happen.
I love that. We are in the hottest recruiting market right now. It's only getting hotter. And I think people need to know that, right, from people that are entrenched in it, and it's abundant. There's no cap. And I like what you said about that. It's you need to just understand that you can bet on yourself and you can do it. You just have to decide, and want more for yourself. Ultimately, really, I think is what it's all about, right? But that could just be entrepreneurship in general. But definitely, recruiting, the market itself and the business, it's incredibly hot. So I like that you kind of dovetailed with that too. So yeah, man, I really appreciate having the combo with you and being able to have this interview. I love your numbers. I love where you're at. I'm so pumped up for your success to come, because clearly you're scaling upwards, and I love that. So like I tell everyone, we'll talk again on an interview when you hit 7 figures and all that. But yeah, I appreciate the time you took for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.